Welcome to Golden Crabcast.
Golden Crabcast. Yeah. Yeah, I am.
Yeah, I guess you gotta cue us.
All right. 10 seconds. 9, 8. All right, that theme song just hypes me up. That's just the way it goes.
That's just how we
Hey,
live.
what's going on, everybody? It's Golden Craftcast. We're here with another one. We're recording and we're ready to talk about this upcoming movie. We got a great opportunity to introduce Mr. Guildford Adams. He's producing a new movie and directing it, I believe, right? And
Yes.
yeah, we're gonna talk to you and interview you about this new movie that's coming up. Do you want to introduce yourself? Do you want to talk a little bit about yourself?
Sure, I'm Guildford Adams. I'm here, an actor slash clown or clown slash actor in the Los Angeles area. But I've been kind of my side hustle, and sometimes my main hustle has been a professional clown for the past 25 years or so. And I recently co-directed a movie with Casey Pinkston, and it's called American Clown. And it's kind of like it asks the question, what happened to the American clown?
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, indeed.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, we're going to talk about the movie, but ultimately, I don't know if you've ever been on a podcast where you review a beer, but we're going to go ahead and crack open a beer. We sent him a beer, so we're all on the same page here. We got the Good Signs by Common Space IPA.
Yeah.
Sergio went ahead and picked this one out. Sergio, what enticed you to pick this beer?
You know, I was just looking at something that we usually choose something that's like on theme, and I was keeping my eye on something that has to do with clowns. The easy pick was probably like Clown Shoes Brewing Company, but I was just like, I don't know, like, cause they had like a separate like artwork that wasn't, it had nothing to do with like clowning. It was just some space stuff, and I was just going around browsing, and I just passed through this. I was thinking like, hey, if I don't find a good one, I'm gonna go back to this because something is like telling me to get this. It was a good sign, I should say. So, you know, I ended up getting it, and then um, I read the description in the back, and I was just like, you know what, this is pretty positive. This this correlates with like with what you're trying to say with this movie, with the hopes of understanding about clanning and bringing forth like the future into how clanning should be portrayed or should be like looked in a good light.
Sure.
And
Let
yeah,
me
I
go
mean,
ahead and
Manny,
read
you
the
want to read
back.
it?
Yeah, let me see. Oasis Farms, Simcoe and Mosaic, Tributary Hop Farms, Cryo Simcoe, Double R Ranches, Cryo Mosaic. So that's, I guess, just listing all the different hops
Yeah.
that are in the beer itself. And then it says here, introducing Good Signs, our brightest tribute to West Coast IPA. With hand selected, lots of Simcoe and Mosaic hops sourced directly from farmers in Yakima, Washington. Good Signs is glowing with the essence of fresh citrus, peach, and tropical fruit. This beer is a token of good signs all around us, and the future gets brighter with every sip. There we go.
Hmm.
You know? So we're gonna go ahead and give this one a crack.
Yep.
I gotta say, Guilford, we don't usually do podcasts in the morning, so an IPA at 11 a.m.,
Yeah, it gives us an
it's a new
excuse.
one for us.
Are you a beer guy? Is that fair to say?
I am. I have been. I usually like I'll pour it in a glass, so I just did that with this.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
definitely. Here we go.
Cheers,
Cheers to
cheers,
the
Cheers, cheers,
craft.
cheers, cheers.
cheers to everybody. Cheers.
Whoa,
Oh yeah,
what do you think?
I like it. I mean, I think it's got all that. It's got exactly what it said. It's got that sort of
Yeah,
citrusy,
tanginess,
just the peach and
citrus. Yeah, it's really good. It hits you with a lot of pungent flavor in the beginning, and then it kind of just chills out.
Yeah, the aroma's very pungent with all those descriptions that it said. Very citrusy.
Oh, and I love me some Simcoe hops. Cryo hops are really good though. They basically get the hops right off of the branch, and then they'll freeze them, and that's how it captures like all that fresh flavor that you're getting right there.
Really?
So yeah, and that's something from Bubble Stash has that. They're a brewery inside of the Raiders Stadium in Las Vegas.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so they kind of introduced that cryo stash thing, and they've been hitting it hard, and other breweries have actually been picking it up and using it. So it's
Yeah.
pretty
Oh
If
awesome.
wow.
anything, I think those hops are trademarked.
Hmm.
That's from what I heard. Yeah. So people buy them out.
Oh
Oh,
wow.
sweet.
It's
This
great.
is a nice one, man. This is a good pick, Serge, for
Yeah.
sure.
Thanks. I mean,
Cool.
yeah.
They
Very
trademarked their
refreshing, if anything. It's not that
Yeah, they
strong.
yeah,
trademarked the hops.
Yeah.
I guess kind of like Michael Jordan did his, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah. Pretty
yeah, he
much.
went shoes, but these guys went hops, so let's go ahead and watch the trailer. What do you think?
All right. For
Yeah, man.
sure.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Okay.
I think of the absurdity of being a clown as a job, and sometimes you yell yourself in the mirror, you're like, what am I doing?
Clowning as an art form is a state of mind. It's telling the audience, I'm living through everything you're living through, but I'm failing at it. And hopefully that's funny.
Well, that's what I want to do. I just want to be an idiot in front of people.
My wife says, like, could you live like this? I was like, yeah, I could. The kids could learn some tricks.
I'm not going to try to be the wittiest person in the room. I can fall on my face and it will work every time.
I've gotten messages from some professional clowns like, how dare you do this to the craft?
I'm looking for just a nose. We don't have a nose. We have a mask, or you can have a...
Now clowns in the mainstream are the horror movies.
Clowning as we know it, it's gone.
Is that you right there on that last shot?
Yeah, that's me, man.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So
that's
you do
awesome.
all your own makeup, you figured out your own like
Yeah.
character and everything like that?
Yeah, I mean, every clown that I know does. There might be a couple,
Yeah.
like high-paid clowns that don't put on their own makeup, but even
Mhm.
the OG Ronald used to be, or the guy that played him for a long time, or that worked with him, we would say, he had a makeup artist. But I bet even after a while, he was like, "Let me do it, let me do it."
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a rite of passage, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Most
So I guess the obvious question here is why clowns? Obviously you love clowning and stuff like that, but like what implored you to like make a documentary kind of showing clowns?
Yeah.
Sure,
And
well,
also,
go ahead.
like, why now? Just to add that.
Yeah, well, I think both those things kind of work hand in hand. I mean, I think there's kind of a brewing crisis that we have with a lot of things. And so clowns have been around, right? Let's just say clowns have been around for a long time. And I would say in America, you had clowns in the 30s and the 40s that were like the hobo type clowns, Weary Willie, Ringling Brothers, all that sort of stuff. And then you got kind of clowns in the 50s and 60s that were kind of more commerce and capitalism. But that's when like Bozo came out, that's when Ronald came out, and they're trying to sell burgers, they're trying to sell whatever. It was
TV shows and stuff.
Yeah.
TV shows, yeah, and popular culture was kind of, was like, hey, these are great. Then as we progress as a civilization and as a country, let's say, like, children's programming got more sophisticated. The clowns weren't the go-to sort of thing to work with kids. In fact, around, I would say 2000s, a little bit later than that, clowns became kind of a liability. You have them positioned as kind of a horror clown stuff. I'm starting with John Wayne Gacy, which didn't do a lot for us.
Right.
But then you have in those like the 80s years when like we were kind of like beginning to start to mistrust some of these icons, these major things. You had two movies that came out almost back to back. You had It, which used a clown, obviously, a Pennywise, great performance by Tim Curry. And then you had in Poltergeist, which was a big movie back then, you had like a little clown. And this was just enough to be like, clowns are like, just to kind of tip towards that. Like clowns aren't always fun. And maybe there's a sinister thing kind of lurking in them. Well, because I think we are a cinematic culture, America, we've really fallen prey to just all clowns are like Pennywise. In fact, it's like now if you make a movie like with Art the Terrifier, David Howard Thornton,
Right.
who's in the doc, wonderful, really sweet dude, but it's a little bit like shooting fish in the barrel, and no discredit to him or his performance or what he's doing, but it's such an easy trope now, like kind of like an evil clown, that it's taken kind of a life of its own.
Yeah.
And my feeling was when I started this documentary, I was working with the reason we started was because I was working as an assistant to Ronald McDonald. A lot of us
Wow.
were, and we all lost our jobs. And so I was like, well, we should film this because this is not going to be around much longer. This is only going to
Mhm.
happen once. It's like a volcano erupting. This
Right.
the Field Ronald program, will not exist once we're done. It's not going to come back. And it had been
Mhm.
around for 40 years. So we started doing that. And then we started but then the circus closed, and then Big Apple Circus closed. And then it was just like, what's going on? Like everything is closing. This is pre-pandemic. So this was
Mhm.
like 2017, 2018. And all we would see was like all the news stories were like horror clown this, and you guys are Southern California. So you
Yeah.
might remember there was like a bunch of sort of news stories like scary clowns are coming to California. And I
There
remember
was
thinking,
videos on like TikTok of like people
yeah,
just
all
like
that
creeping
stuff.
around and
Part of it
yeah.
was the rise of social media, but they were just like really scary clown. What are they even talking about? And I remember seeing that when I was younger, now, like in 2017, not much younger, but a little younger. I remember thinking like, Jesus, like if I was a kid with like
Mhm.
some sort of, I would go get a scary clown mask. Like you're basically asking people to continue to promote this by saying, all this is going to happen. So and then I would get calls because my clown company, Los Angeles Clown, that's my clown company,
Mhm.
saying, "Hey, you want to come and talk about like how this is happening to like, that you guys create?" So I'm gonna
Yeah.
now talk and say how this is terrible that we're losing jobs, and I'm gonna feed into the fact that you've created this hysteria. Like it's ridiculous, man. Um,
That's wild.
Yeah.
I was
I
like, no. So I was like, this needs to be talked about. Now, you could go
definitely.
down. This is a couple things. I think this is entertainment and news kind
Mhm.
of converging. We're like, we don't know which is which. I mean, we live in a very reality show sort of presidency, and
I mean,
so
especially now with AI, it's even crazier, right?
you don't know. You don't know what's real. You have no idea. This was also something I think pushed by news organizations on like this is something that was a small story that started in South Carolina that all of a sudden kind of made it over here. And like this is getting,
Mhm.
it was like news organizations are what can get us hits? What can get us, let's say
Yep.
clowns. And
Yeah.
Yeah,
it just
definitely.
felt like this is a scary. And then I also think going into the corporate clowns, and then if you look at kind of the horror clowns that we have now in the 2000s and stuff, if every clown sort of trope or whatever, every kind of you got the corporate clowns in the 90s and stuff, and then us not wanting that corporate thing, and now the clowns are like surreal and scary. It's kind of a sign of the times. It's always been a sign of the times. And what does it say about our time when like the only clowns we have are Pennywise and Art the Terrifier, and just like
Yeah.
or out in
Right.
the field. And so I think it's a to me what it says is it kind of marks a sign of an unhealthier society right now, that
Yeah.
we can't trust ourselves with anything good.
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely. Just going back on like the scary clown trope, do you think that originated from like John Wayne Gacy?
I don't think it originated, but I don't think he helped it at all.
Yeah.
Well, I've done lots of interviews, and they've said, "What do you think about John Wayne Gacy?" He's like, "Well, I can't speak to him as a clown, but he was a horrific murderer."
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Just
Um,
person in general with
yeah,
the
yeah,
attribution of like liking clowns and liking that kind of culture, and I mean there's even like cheesy situations of killer clowns from outer space. One of my favorites, it's
yeah,
like you see stuff like that and it's like they try to make fun of it. They try to make fun that it's they're killer clowns, and you watch the movie and it's like super cheesy and like it's fun and it's playful, but I mean, obviously, like people like John Wayne Gacy, like they didn't help the situation, but I mean, there's always crazy murderers out there. It's just like for
yeah.
me, I just see that guy as just having a weird attribution to like liking clowns and liking that kind of thing
Yeah.
because it got him closer to children or whatever.
yeah. It was
Um,
big.
but I mean, there's examples all over the world, and even before that, like you said, historically, of clowns being like a symbol of, a reflection of society of what entertains them. So I think in that way, you're right, because if, the people that are entertaining us are a reflection of what society is, and we got killer clowns, like Terrifier and stuff like that, it really does speak to the times and is a reflection of mainstream culture in that way. That's an interesting way to look at it,
One and I think there's an element too that we want to destroy the things that have, and I it's an by all accounts, Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers, was a super sweet, nice guy. Nothing, but in today's day and age, we as people in social media, we would rip someone like that apart because we'd be like, there's just no one can be that nice to kid. Like we
Yeah.
project our own demons onto stuff, and so I think that's what's happening with clowns. And listen, I want to make the case. I'm not against horror clowns. I have nothing against them. I just don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater and say all clowns are evil and horrible. Like,
Yeah.
I bet compared to the rest of society, there is a segment of clowns that are horrible, and then
Yeah.
the rest are pretty good, just like we have in society. So, in fact, probably more often good than not, compared to, like, I don't know, another demographic like lawyers. I think most clowns are probably like slightly better on the average than
Yeah.
lawyers are.
That's true.
Like
So
comedians, like the camaraderie of, I could imagine like the camaraderie of comedians and just like being in theater and stuff like that. It's a lot different than sitting in a room full of lawyers, you know?
Yeah, and it just propelled me, and I don't think anyone is advocating for clowns. And
Right.
I've kidded and I've joked about, like, sharks have better PR people than clowns do. There's no one saying, "Hey, wait, man,
Yeah, they got a week, you know, so
they got a whole week." The clowns don't have anything, so I feel like I want to advocate for other clowns. I mean, it was these
Yeah.
people. It was like going back to what I said earlier with the news crews and, hey, come over here, and I was like, well, what do you want me to do? And they'd be like, well, we want you to come in costume and just kind of say how people are taking your jobs. It's like, no,
Yeah.
you'll find some other sap to do that. Like, I don't want to feed into this.
Yeah.
Because that's a reality. Is there's people out there that depend on this income, and they're like, why are you taking away this beautiful stuff that we do for the kids by saying it all, painting it in one broad stroke, like we're all evil, horrible, me. And the thing that bothered me about the Southern California clown is, like, they weren't clowns. They were kids in latex masks. That really bugged me, just to, like, say,
We're just cheap clowns, you know?
but they're not juggling. They're not on a unicycle. They're not, like, doing
They're
any
just standing around.
skills. They're not funny. Like at least, like just say they're kids in latex clown masks. Like, let's be more specific.
Yeah, it's like a
that's
teenage
true.
prank,
Yeah.
teenage clown prank, you know?
Yeah, it just
it's-
became a
it's-
trend.
It's for
Yeah, it became a
views,
trend.
you know?
Yeah.
And I bet you more than half of those are fake anyways, you know?
Oh, they're not real clowns. None of them are.
I mean, just like the
true.
videos themselves of like, oh, this guy's creeping behind the tree or whatever. You know, that's his buddy just filming him. Come on, guy. Like,
I know,
you gotta be
totally.
that gullible.
Yeah, totally. So that's just that's kind of where it came from. And I think, and this is, also something that maybe I was unprepared for when I started the documentary, is that there's just a lot of people in America that can be duped. And that's just, I think we've seen that time and time again. And so, and it seems like we wouldn't have to put out, like, hey, not all of us are bad, by the way, but maybe we do. Maybe these people just cannot get it. I don't know. Can't think above that sort of threshold of, like, wait a second, this is a movie. I'm watching a movie. I don't think they're all evil. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's the thing is, like, right now that trope is selling and it's getting a lot of people money. But back in the days, like I think about back in the 90s, and I used to watch these old like sing-along Disney things, and there was this one at the circus, and at one point it was like David LaRible in the middle of the ring, and it was amazing. It was an art performance, and you look at clowning like that and you compare it to what you see nowadays, it's just like uncomparable, because I was looking, like, because I was interested, we started looking at all this, and I thought, like, that's my earliest memory of like what a clown is, quote unquote. And I saw an interview with him on a news channel, and this guy's saying, like, I've been all over the world. He started naming off all the countries. He's like, whenever I open my trailer door, it's a new place, a new town, a new something or another. And I never really thought about that. Like in the light of, like, let's say a musician or a traveling artist, you're putting your art on the line to be somewhere else in a different town and be able to entertain not only just the people and culture that but everywhere around the world. And I think, speaking on that, I mean, it's just I never saw it in that light. You know, I never
Yeah.
saw it in that light, and it's impressive when you think about it because people like that like don't really exist anymore. You don't see a David LaRible, you know, on the news or anything like that, or on TikTok or anything like that, and that's really a shame because it is not just part of American culture, but all over the world. You know?
I think unfortunately for whatever reason we just right now we're in a period of America where we constantly give the microphone to people that are just unabashedly lying, you know, and we're like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
what? Let him lie again. Give them microphone. Let him lie again. And we're like,
We
why do
need
you
viral moments, people.
I know that's what it is. I think part of it is this sort of it's viral. It's the you know, it's feeding the beast, and it's what gets the engagement. And I guess it's like a bad kid in class, you know, like
Mhm.
that bad kid gets all the attention, but that bad kid's he's gonna have problems when he gets older. Like he's just gonna
Yeah.
have problems
Definitely.
because all he's been thriving on all this negative attention and he's getting it. And so
Mhm.
like where does that go? You know, the kid's gonna like I don't know. So I think that's just where we are. We're kind of in that sort of America is in the sixth grade as far as social media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was looking also another example like around the 90s, you know, like that whole David Larible thing. He was even in Seinfeld, I think.
Uh-huh.
But around that time, I was just watching this the other day on Amazon Prime. I was flipping through the different movies and I saw this trailer for Shakes the Clown
Yeah.
in like 1991, I think it was released. And this movie is like a complete satire, a dark comedy based on clowns. You know, it's like them like drinking, having substance abuse, cheating on their partners, and doing all that stuff. And it's like, I don't know. Have you ever seen that movie?
Oh yeah, it's famous. It's
Yeah.
famous.
What do you think
Yeah.
about like what do you think about like portrayals like that of clowns?
Oh, I think maybe at that time it was edgy, but those guys are like they're on they aren't near as derelict as the other ones now. You know,
Yeah.
they just have substance abuse problems. They don't have you know, they're not like murderers, ongoing murderers, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was edgy for the time, but it's also, if anything, it's kind of it's created the trope. I mean, I'll give you an example.
Mhm.
But back in the day, Krusty the Clown on The Simpsons was
Yeah.
like he was like kind of edgy and like dark and kind of like you were like, oh god, Krusty. But Krusty's one of the good ones now. I mean, that's how far we've swung to the other
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah.
Is that Krusty's like because he's relatable, he's got
Yeah.
dad issues. Yeah, he smokes and drink, you know, I
Yeah.
mean, who doesn't? You know, so
Yeah.
there's element that we will kind of accept because our expectations and standards of a clown have gone so far down that we don't expect them
Yeah.
to not have some sort of
That's
substance
wild to think
problem.
about, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So that just tells you how far we've slid and slid and how far, you know, being a clown has really kind of, he's not the we don't he's become a ne'er-do-well, you know, and I think that's okay. I mean, at least he's not a murderer. I'll take a ne'er-do-well over a murderer, you know. Listen, we see clowns in everyday culture all the time. You couldn't go through a show that we're not like. I mean, some of you said something about Seinfeld, Darible,
Yeah.
with David Larible. Did you say? I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, you know, Seinfeld is full of clowns, man. I mean, they just don't have makeup on.
Yeah.
Kramer,
Great.
biggest clown out there.
Right.
He's not a high status. He's a very low status clown. Like, but right above him, so he's like what we would call the three, like completely out there. This guy would eat dog food, anything, you know, and say like this is it's better than real food. You know, you can see him saying something like that, and then Jason is kind of like in between, right? He's
Right.
not as doofusy as Kramer is, but he's still a doofus. And he's always off. Elaine is kind of on that same level, but she's a female, so she's got different status. And then Jerry would be kind of like the high status clown. Like he's you know, he's pretty, he's like a white face clown. Like he's pretty he doesn't have a lot of things, but he could not like that girl because she's got bad breath or because whatever, or
Right.
is her
Right.
hair. Like
Yeah.
he's got some weird things.
Ego
But
things. Yeah.
yeah, but he's not like he's pretty. Like if you walk into a room, you're not thinking, oh, that guy's a clown. But the more you get to know him, you're like, he's a little weird. But then George is legit clown. Like maybe with the nose and but he's just not wearing it. And Kramer's full on white, just everything, wild hair.
Yeah, very
Even
physical.
physically, he's
Yeah.
very so
Yeah.
we have clowns. They're not in face. And then you can
Mhm.
go back in all of the Marx Brothers, they didn't wear noses. All those guys were clowns. Groucho, a Chico and Harpo. I mean, Lucille Ball, she was a clown. She didn't wear a nose. So we,
Right.
we it's always sunny in Philadelphia. Both Charlie
Dan
Day
DeVito,
and
yeah.
Yeah.
total clowns. We just don't. So it's really about the makeup. Ultimately, is
Mhm.
kind of or what we designate what's a clown and who's a clown. And that might just be a taste or just a societal change temporarily, and it might come back. I don't know.
Do you think that resurgence will happen after this documentary?
What's that?
Do you think that resurgence of like clowns with makeup will happen after this documentary?
I don't know if the documentary will have anything to do about it. I think it'll. I mean, that'd be great. My hope is what I've tried to do is show the faces behind the makeup, just to remind people that these are humans, and that these are like real people with aspirations and why they got into it. For a lot of people, it's a primer for like, oh my God, that's what clowns do, or that's how they get into it and kind
Yeah.
of join the circus and all that sort of stuff. I think once we can empathize with somebody and kind of like understand somebody's plight, I think the majority of Americans have a better time understanding, like, oh, well, now I kind of see how the sausage, I kind of get it now, I
Yeah.
kind of how it's made a little bit. And it is kind of crummy that like kind of always like it's funny you said Shakes the Clown, because Shakes the Clown in it, we're all like, everyone's like mimes don't talk, and they're all being like jerks to mimes and stuff. And I remember that happening. And I remember, and none
That
of
was
us,
like a real thing.
well, I kind of like, like mom, like there was just a lot of mime bashing in movies and shows, and
Mhm.
like it's kind of, like, oh, hey, get away, or like even TV shows. There's just a lot
Yeah.
of being crappy to mimes.
Mhm.
And you don't see mimes much anymore. You see them sometimes, but it
Yeah.
was kind of like it was like the stupider kid brother of clowning. Like they don't even talk. So and that wasn't cool bashing. Now that that it was kind of cancel culture in its infancy,
Yeah.
and now like clowns are trying to be canceled. I'm like, I just, and in today's day and age, I think the larger thing it would be, and comics would say this too, right? I think, and I don't agree with, oh, you can't say anything anymore, because there's just too many. I think these are natural obstacles society pits up. I do think cancel culture is real, and I don't agree with it. But I do think that when we as a culture are trying to silence people being funny or trying to silence truth to power, I think that to me is that's a tricky position, right? Because if you're
Mhm.
going to kill the jester, if the king kills the jester, because he's the only one that can tell the king exactly what the people think about him without
Yeah.
getting killed, then what does that say about society? If we're willing to
Yeah.
kill those people, we have leaders now that will not laugh at themselves ever. That nothing, that's scary. There's a reason why those people, have,
Yeah.
on themselves around yes people. It's because they won't be told the truth. And so, I don't know. I'm questioning if that's happening in my profession, that's
Mhm.
happening in other professions. What does that say about our direction?
Yeah, about how seriously people take themselves in these positions of power and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, speaking about how the sausage was made, you were talking about that earlier. I mean, you've have you filmed other movies before? Is this your
Oh
first
yeah.
one? Like, yeah.
I've
What was
never
your experience
directed.
with it?
I've never directed a movie before, but this is
Yeah.
like I've been in lots of movies. I've probably done 80 TV commercials, in and out of face as a clown.
Mhm.
A lot of them as an actor. Same thing with movies. David Arquette. I did a movie called Saving Flora. That's why he's in the doc. Now he's not what I would consider. Well, I'm not going to say he's not a clown. He comes from a long lineage of performers,
Mhm.
vaudevillian to his grandfather and stuff. And he bought the rights to Bozo, which is a huge
Oh
thing.
wow.
Yeah.
And so he's been really trying to relaunch Bozo and kind
Mhm.
of his mission and my mission are very similar in that he's trying to positively put a little bit of good clown
Good
out,
energy out. Yeah.
and
Um,
I so it comes from kind of a pure place. And I think the world could use a little more positivity,
yeah,
honestly.
Yeah.
definitely.
Especially
What
now
was
than
your
ever.
experience directing this one since
Oh,
that was your first time?
I mean, I've directed plays and stuff before, so it
Mhm.
really wasn't all that like unfamiliar. But I did it reluctantly, only because like, well, I got to run the interviews. I wrote the questions. I know what needs to be asked, so I'll just do it at any time. And still to this day, I would be like, if somebody bigger came along, I was like, dude, this is a great idea, and he had like 50 million things on IMDb. And he's like, I want to direct this. You just be the guy asking questions. Like, awesome, done. Like I
Yeah.
didn't need it. Like,
Right.
oh, I mean, it was all my money. It's all self financed and
Yeah,
stuff.
that's awesome.
Part of that is like, oh, but I just wanted to get further. So like I was the only vehicle at the time that could get it to this place. And then I was happy to let somebody else have it to take it further. Still am, but it never really came about. So eventually I was like, well, I guess I'm the director, and
Yeah.
but I was like, I'm not comfortable just being the sole director, and I really don't feel like I've done all the directing that.
Mhm.
So the editor, I have had a couple editors. This guy Ramon Fernandez, really great job. He took it to a certain place, and then we got in touch with Casey Pinkston, who just took it that much further. And I told him, I'm just so like elated that everything you've done. Like I feel like you've made this movie, from the scraps I gave you. I would like to bring you up to co-director. And he was like, I don't know. And I thought you were like, I think it works better for like co-directors, because otherwise I don't like the optics of it, because I don't know. I like distance from it. Even in my head, it works better.
Mhm.
I don't necessarily want to, and I wouldn't feel that way about everything. Like if it was a dramatic movie, or if it was something that wasn't a documentary, I
Mhm.
just feel like the editing added so much. It felt really like it felt like dishonest, just calling myself the only director. Like it just felt like I didn't feel good
Yeah.
about it.
Right. That's cool. That's cool. I mean, you could tell just even in the trailer, like the punk rock song that you have in the back of it, kind of gives you like the attitude of like that clown, And I know that your editor probably chose that song and gave it that vibe. So it's really cool. I mean, you got to talk to Steve-O, you got to talk to a bunch of different actors. I mean, what was your favorite interview you'd say out of what you talked about?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I had there was a lot of interviews. So we
Mhm.
have John C. Riley's in it, Steve O's in it, David Arquette, Bill Irwin, who is a huge sort of master clown that it's
Yeah.
kind of older generation. Richie the Barber, who's kind of people in LA kind of know him. And then just so many rank and file sort of like clowns and comedians, Seth Word and Matt Walker and Matt Morgan. And it's hard to pick out a favorite. What I did like is I liked that even clowns that I thought were vastly different. Like I had so many questions for Richie the Barber, because he was, he's like tattooed. His face is tattooed,
Yeah,
the clown, and so he can never take it off. And I just thought like, that's crazy. Because I mean, at some point,
that's dedication right there.
Yeah.
that's dedication. At some point, you just don't want to be on, like you just don't want to be like, you want to put a hoodie on and be like, oh my God, I don't want to talk to anybody right now. And and then you have to as a clown, because you're a clown
Yeah,
24/7. So I just boggled my mind. That would be like, I am permanently on, I'm permanently clocked in. Like that would
yeah,
really bug me. I like clocking out, I like
yeah.
clocking out. And then but then there's a great interview we had with JJ Harrison, who was a rodeo clown. And he would, here's this guy in boots, cowboy hat, and it comes from like a mom and dad were a doctor and a lawyer or whatever. And he's out there kind of like just yucking it up on this sort of like in between cow turds and bull turds and stuff. And he told me just some of the most prophetic stuff like this. It was, something like, you can't just put makeup on anybody and have them be a clown. Like, and it was like, yeah, you can't. You really can't. Like, some
Yeah.
people have it and some people just don't.
Right,
Some
right.
people just are not in touch with that that kid that's in them, that just wants to kind of make people laugh and whatever else. And then he also said, like, I'm just basically a stand-up comic on the world's most dangerous stage, which is
Yeah.
a lot what a clown is. You're just kind of a comic, you're just like and you're in your makeup,
Mhm.
and you've got some set of skills more than most comics do. I'm most comics exhibit on stage, I'll say,
Right.
Right.
because you're juggling or you're doing balloon animals or whatever else, but you're yucking it up the whole time. You got lines, you got ways to kind of like, pass the time. So I thought that was just really interesting. And then one other thing JJ Harrison said was like, You gotta like really being a clown comes from the heart, and it's just
Yeah.
about being passionate and about wanting people to laugh and about giving them joy for a minute. And that's what a clown was. So like, here we are, two different in two totally different sort of settings, but we're the same. And I just thought
Yeah.
that was so interesting about clowning. Is it's something that and John C. Riley says something that I've stuck and I've mentioned since. And I've known him. I did his kids' parties when they were like in 4 and 5, mid-20s now. So I've known him for a long time. And he said, being a clown is like a calling. It's like having
Yeah.
it's like like you're drawn to. So nobody wants to tell their mom or dad they're a clown. Usually you're not like they're bracing for like, I don't know how this is gonna go over.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm a clown, like it's that
The
you're
whole clown college trope, like going to clown college and stuff.
yeah.
What did you have an opportunity to like visit those in the documentary or like check those out or talk
Well,
to
I didn't check. Well, 90s. So Reeling Brothers in Barnumville Circus closed in 1997 for the clown college. So there was not a place where
Mhm.
they had or the old thing. So I had to talk to the alumni and the graduates, and that
Oh
was the
wow.
class that I had auditioned for, but I didn't go in that year. And then
Mhm.
they closed the whole program down. So there was really no way to look at the facilities or whatever else. We did do a lot of other circuses, and we went to a bunch of different sort of tent shows, but no, not that specifically. As far as I know, it's all boarded up or rented out to somebody else now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you were talking about kind of like that calling of clowning and what John C. Riley mentioned. And like when I think about that, for me, who comes to mind is definitely like Chris Farley. You know, he would always, he just end up falling on a coffee table and that's that whole clowning spirit, So I mean, I think now like what you're saying is the modernization of clowns too is, you know, a lot of people are not steering to that type of comedy anymore. Like people like to be smart and witty and like make you laugh off one-liners and stuff like that. But you cannot replace guys like Chris Farley and people like that. Like I mean, you talk to Steve-O too, So I mean, he's just out there just in general doing some crazy ass shit. So, I mean, I don't know. Do you feel like there's going to be more clowns because of this documentary? Like people might be more interested in stuff like that because of it. Hopefully, like another college opens up or something.
Well, I mean, I would hope my hope would be that this just adds to the conversation. I think there is um we're all as I believe kind of in this sort of Southern California area. Are you in Southern Sergio? Where are you?
The same. I'm in Southern California.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there's a bunch of stuff going on right now. Chad Damiani has got a bunch of stuff at the Elysian Theater in Frogtown, and it's not necessarily like all white face and stuff. There's the clown school, so there is kind of like I think a burgeoning sort of like, and for John Gilkey's got kind of a huge thing called the Idiot Workshop, where they're like, and it's not full white face clowning. It's
Mhm.
not, makeup driven and that sort of stuff. So it's a little tangential to kind of what I do, but I don't think that there is some stuff out there. There's the Red Bastard that performs at Elysian. It's on the periphery, but it's clowning. I would say it's
Mhm.
more clowning as a verb, or to clown or whatever than like clown, So
Mhm.
it's there, but it's
Mhm.
not necessarily like, but they're together, but they're also can be treated separately. Like it's almost a way in. It's like if there was, I feel bad talking about
Like
LA
the one like the 101 to clowning, like the
a little bit, or like it's like as if one was something you smoked and one was edibles. Like they're the same thing,
Okay. Yeah.
but they're different.
yeah
Um, and they hit you different and all that sort of. And some
yeah
people like them differently, and but they do they are companions of
Mhm.
some sort. So I think my feeling is when I do like the average 30-year-old, or like I do their birthday party, or like, hey, come to this bar in Silver Lake, and they're happy to see me. They're just, we love clowns. This is so great. Like I don't have near the pushback I would like people closer to my generation or generation under me. It's kind of like, clowns. Like like it's fashionable to dislike clowns a little bit right now, or they grew up and they had a bad experience, and or they watched Poltergeist too many times, like. But there is it's a way that people build community by hating clowns. Like I don't think most of them don't truly hate clowns. They just don't. It's just it's again, there's no one to say like, do you? I mean, that's how we bond as people. We rag on stuff and we're like,
It's easier to hate on something.
it's easier to hate. And then, and they're like, do you really hate clowns? Actually, well, not really.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen a clown in 30 years. I don't know. Why do I hate him so much? It's kind of like, it's like Nickelback. People are like, oh, I hate Nickelback.
I'm in
And then
that
you're
same
like,
camp.
can you name a Nickelback song? It's like, well, the sucky ones, like, but it's just easy to say
Right.
because no one's going to argue it, and no one's going to be like, wait a second, Nickelback's got some good tracks. You're just going to kind of say that, and people are going to let it slide, and so it just becomes this mantra that we tell each other. So the reality is a little different, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, you kind of lived through a lot of the, I guess, eras of clowning. You've been clowning for a while, right?
Yeah, I've been clowning. I started this 7th grade, but then I gave it up for a little bit. I mean, I just kind of moved on to other stuff as you do when you're younger. And I got into girls and sports in high school and stuff. And then I kind of revisited it in college. Really, I came into college as an athlete. And when I found drama, I was an athlete. And so I didn't have the background of a lot of like doing stuff in high school, because I was always I was a diver, springboard diver, so I was doing that all the time. And so I never even saw a musical. I never saw any of that stuff. So when I started taking classes that had all these like actors in college who had been like acting for like 8 years and doing the lead roles in Pippin, I was like, God, how do I show my talents a little bit? And I was like, well, I'm a tumbler, like I'm a physical guy, and so I naturally fell into a lot of tumbling and flips and that stuff. And so I played servants and Shakespeare. I played a lot of anything that was very physical. I could kind of get into and throw my body like Chris Farley did,
Yeah. That's awesome.
I loved all that stuff. And then I found the Marx Brothers, and I found Buster Keaton, and I found Charlie Chaplin. And these were these old, in their day, like the highest paid stars. This is where stage and vaudeville made it to film. So everything at the beginning was silent. And then the Marx Brothers in the 30s and the 40s, started they were talking and stuff because of the advent of sound in film. So to me, that was just like in Fatty Arbuckle, and like I just love that stuff. And so moving to LA in 2000 from Texas, I was in the same city as all this stuff where it happened, right? Like all the Keystone, the Keystone Cops and all the fire stuff is Silver Lake, and just like and Buster Keaton, where he used to live, was Alvarado and Sunset, and this is everything. This is where everything happened, and there's just something about feeling like I'm standing on the shoulders of all these old greats, and so it just fed me, and it still feeds me. It felt like, it felt like in a way, like when you're a kid and you watch Raiders of the Lost Ark and you feel like you're reaching into this artifact. To me, I felt like I was doing that as an actor. It's like I'm learning from these people. I'm in the same space, and it was just really exciting. And so I kind of continued that, and I'm still as passionate about that as I've ever been, because I think there's something sweet in that. Something that we lose a lot. And you're right, as you're talking and saying these things, in the physical comedy, and now we've got America's Funniest Home Videos. We've got so many resources where we see pretty awesome physical comedy, unintended, but it's like
ridiculousness,
just right. But we can see it on our social media feed and stuff. So it's not the main entertainment. It's still in our entertainment, but we're not going to the movies for that necessarily.
Right.
We're going for the spectacle now. We're going for that. I mean, even Tom Cruise now, who's wonderful by all accounts, and you could say a whole podcast about him, many podcasts. He's still promoting like these are real stunts, like this is what I'm really doing, sort of thing, because I guess that helps juice sales and stuff. And it does add to an element of like, oh my God, he's really doing that, So there still is this showmanship aspect of film, but I think there's been a big bite taken out of it because we have people doing it for free on the internet, you know, that we watch through social media and everything.
Mhm.
So anyway, I'm kind of digress, but I think you know, there's an interesting history to clowning, and you know, I'm here for it.
Yeah,
most
man,
definitely.
that's I never really thought about like the entire history of clowning and just like how many cultures span it. But obviously you chose to talk about the American aspect of clowning. Did you end up visiting like any other states like while filming the documentary?
Yeah, I went to New York. I had to, you know, we were on the East Coast or the West Coast for a long time just 'cause that's where I'm based and that's where I
Mhm.
know a lot of my clowns. I went to Vegas, I went to Nevada. We had talked about going to Texas to kind of do some stuff, and that's where I'm from. Trying to think of other states that we hit. There was some other, we had a couple other potential people. There's some people that do like kind of crazy clown stuff on Instagram, and that was sort of like a bit of a desire for one of the producers. It's just really difficult, especially of the female, you know, to slide into somebody's DMs and be like, "Hey, I want to make a." People are like, you know, it seems
Yeah.
skeevy, and it was not my intention at all. It's just like, you know, hey,
Yeah.
you run this Instagram site over this, and what's your love of clowning and stuff. So, but it's hard for them to know you're legit or take you seriously. So, and it didn't maybe fit in this doc. You know, I said American clown. I mean, I'd love to do other clowns. You know, I love, but
Mhm.
it's all I know is America. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
it's a, and there are some there's an Italian clown and a French clown in it, just to kind of give it some sort of just to give it some framing. And they deal with the same stuff over there. I think we deal with it more in America just because of we are a cinematic culture. Like everything is in the movies here. And so and that's our one of our major exports. So I think we probably deal with it here more than a lot of other areas. I mean, there's a lot of
Mhm.
famous Russian clowns and you know, yeah, so I think that's part of it. You know, one thing about all these clowns though, and everything that we have is there is one universal language that clowning speaks to. And I'll say this to people calling in, like, hey, do you speak Spanish? And I'll say something like, you know, enough to get me in trouble. And then, but I'll say, you know what? Clowning is universal. You know,
Yeah.
Mhm.
physicality and what we say is universal. So there is you know, that is one thing. And if I'm doing neighborhood parties, I've done 4,000 kids parties in the LA area
Wow.
for the past 20 years. And if I'll do parties like at a temple and at a mosque and like different days, you know, I'll do backyard parties with a mariachi band or you know, like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. And when I'm walking up, everybody knows what I'm there to do. They all know what
Right.
I'm there to do. They all know what to expect, you know.
Mhm.
And so that's you know, I think that's it's very unique. You know, and LA is unique for that. I think the only other city that probably has that is New York, but it's unique to have that. You know, if I'm doing this in Austin or San Antonio, or you're not
Right.
gonna have the diversity that you'll have. You'll have white and you'll have Mexican. You know, like you won't have. I mean, not that there's not more in San Antonio, but here you got everybody. I mean, you got
Yeah.
everybody. You know, it's
Yeah.
so
Definitely, man. I mean, you've done a lot of kids' parties and stuff. Have you ever had any like crazy experiences or like, you know, anything crazy? Because I could just imagine, like, you know, Sergio he bartends sometimes and he does festivals and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
I get
he comes
all
back with
types of
stories
people.
sometimes.
Yeah, so I could imagine someone that comes up to you and say like, "Oh, so you've been doing this clowning business for a long time, right?" or something stupid like that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, the same thing. I mean, people. Yeah, I've had some stories, and I've been, you know, I have been kind of not the best all the time. You know, it's like I've been hungover in my younger days and
Same.
staying up all night and just barely present. And like, oh my God, and it's been embarrassing. You know, I've probably been drunk before at a party. You know, I've been at parties before where people try to get me drunk. You know, that happens a lot.
Oh
Like
shit.
I would
Yeah,
be at a party where, you know, a bunch of Russians love their vodka, right? And so I'll be at
right.
a party, and there was one party in particular where like a guy was like, "Gonna get Mr. Glenn a tiny glass of water. Gonna get Mr. Glenn," and I was like, "No, I don't think it's just easier at some point because you're in the middle of your bit and the clowns and they're all the kids are looking at back and they're like, just one tiny glass of water." It's like that's funny. He's bringing me a shot of vodka. You know, I'm like, okay, good. You know, he was like, great, great. He's like, how about another one? You know, like
Oh shit.
in a minute, let me get done with the magic. You know, so you just can't because it's just easier to like just yeah, sure, you know. But yeah, I've done it all. I've been at
Yeah.
parties. Yeah, I've done it all. I've been at parties too, and this happens a fair amount, not so much anymore. You learn to get really good at like trying to engage the parents, because the last thing you want to be at a kid's party is like the paid babysitter.
Mhm.
And it happens, or like, but I don't like it I don't want to be alone with the kid, just, I don't want anything to come up. So I want parents around.
Right.
I
Right.
like that. I just don't like the optics of it. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I'd rather be here with the parents, and they're all going crazy, and some parties crazier than others. So you have to like learn to like advocate for yourself and
Mhm.
advocate for the kids. And, sometimes it's hard to like leave a party, like, hope those guys are okay. That's a pretty rowdy crew. And
And
then
it's like, yeah, they're gonna watch the kids after I leave. It's like-
I hope so. I hope someone watches them. But all in all, and it's the reason why I've done it as long as I've done it is you don't meet people on a bad day when they're having their kid's birthday. Typically, people are like,
Right.
"We did it again. We got him alive another year, whatever."
Right.
We made his
It's a
birthday.
celebration of that.
Yeah, it's a celebration, exactly. So you're not catching people kind of like in a bad mood. And so, and the cash is always nice. I don't care how old I get. I love like getting, I did a party yesterday, like $350. Like, thank you. It's like, awesome, dude. That's like it's bartending money, right, Sergio? You do
Exactly. It
three of those
is.
parties and you get like, dude, that's great. I mean, there's
Yeah, it's a
plenty of
day's
I
worth. You just go home, you're like, I did what I did.
did what I did. I did balloons. I just really messed around all day. Like it's awesome money.
Yeah.
I've done it for 25 years and it's still awesome money. I
Yeah.
don't raise my prices, but I'm still like, yeah, it's really good money. I'm alone. I'm in my car listening to classical music right now, and kind of like I put my clown nose on, I go out, I do it in the car. It's easy. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so
Cool,
many
man.
terrible.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, we really look forward. I mean, I personally look forward to watching the documentary, man. It sounds like a really good time. It's been awesome talking to you. Sergio, you got any more questions?
I mean, I'll leave you with this one. Like, what's your hopes in bringing this movie forward, and what do you hope the audience will come out of it after watching this movie?
I know that there's a lot of asks right now on people opening up their hearts and kind of like, seeing the real value in people, and it's like, and I think in a lot of cases, I mean, that absolutely, and they need to, I just hope that we can remove the face paint enough to let people know that there is a strong case for having clowns around. And there's people like medical clowning does so much for the community
Yeah.
alone, and for hospitals like Chalk and Loma Linda. And we've just recently lost funding, Healthy Humor has, for two different hospitals. One was in Loma Linda and one was at Chalk, and they both provided just exemplary services. A crew of two clowns, usually doctors or nurses or some characters, would go to hospital rooms and they would try to engage with people that have been there, or kids that have been there for a while, and their parents, and get them to kind of laugh, and to bring some normalcy to an unnormal situation. And so if I can just try to clear the way for those programs to go a little bit further and to reach a little bit more, as far as kids and outreach and all that stuff, then I feel like that this doc has done what it sets out to do. Because I don't want to, I'm not trying to like, get rid of the horror clown or what. I'm just trying to say there's enough room for everybody, man. There's enough room at the table. Let's just, we can be sophisticated and entertained, and just and allow other people in. And I think that goes for everyone.
Yeah, most
That's
definitely. So where's this movie gonna premiere or
Yeah, so
debut?
it premieres at Dancing with Films, which is like a week and a day from now in Hollywood. So it's going to be kind of right there at the Grauman's Chinese Theater. It's a series of theaters right there, right next to it, where they do the Academy Awards sometimes. You can park underneath. It's like $3 with validation. You'll get validated by the theater. It's going to be on the 23rd of June at 7 p.m. So it's not this Monday, but the next Monday at 7 p.m. It's going to be awesome, man. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have a lot of the clowns there, and it should be a fun time.
Yeah,
Sounds
for sure.
awesome, man. Dude,
Yeah.
it's been a pleasure talking to you, man. What'd you think of the beer, by the way?
That's very good, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate you dropping it off.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
got you an extra one so you could share with another clown, you know?
Yeah.
All right,
Exactly.
good.
All right, man. Right on. Thank you so much
Thanks,
for
man.
coming on the podcast, man. It's been a pleasure. Can't wait to see the movie. And yeah, man. Love, peace, chicken grease. What was the name of that organization that you wanted to bring attention to?
Healthy humor.
Healthy humor.
Humor.
Healthy humor. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll make sure to put the link for that in the podcast as well. So we'll put that in there. Thank you so
Okay.
much for talking to
Thanks
us,
so
man.
much,
Right,
Manny.
thank you.
Sergio, thanks, man. Have a great day.
Of course.
Yeah, peace out. You too.
Right,
Bye, dude.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Welcome to Golden Crab. Cast.